Marvin Hagler's death didn't just hurt, it stunned the sports world. He was the definition of mental toughness, with an iron chin and unmatched discipline. Even Joe Rogan got emotional talking about him. Fans everywhere were shaken. This wasn't just the loss of a legend, it revealed the painful reality behind one of boxing's greatest icons. From the rough streets of Newark to the bright lights of Las Vegas, Hagler's journey was pure inspiration. But behind the triumph was a private battle few ever saw. He rose like a warrior, but his fall was quiet and heartbreaking. The world saw the glory, but not the weight he carried alone. Born in 1954 in Newark, New Jersey, Hagler grew up in a tough neighborhood where survival was a daily fight. After the 1967 riots, his family moved to Brockton, Massachusetts, searching for safety. That move would change everything. In Brockton, he found a boxing gym run by two brothers, Goody and Pat Petronelli, who immediately saw something special in him. Hagler trained with an obsession. "If they cut my head open, they'd find a boxing glove," he once said. He lived and breathed the sport. Early losses in his amateur career would have broken most fighters, but not Marvin. They only made him hungrier, stronger, and more focused. While other kids were out playing, Hagler was grinding in the gym. He mastered a tricky southpaw stance and developed a chin that couldn't be cracked. More than talent, he had a will that couldn't be shaken. And that's what makes his story so devastating. Because he gave everything, and still, it wasn't enough to control how it all ended. When he turned pro in 1973 and stopped Terry Ryan in round 2, few noticed. Promoters saw him as dangerous but not profitable. He was too much of a threat and too little of a name, so they avoided him. That silence, the denial of his shot, cut deeper than any punch he ever took. But instead of folding, Hagler used the rejection as fuel. He wasn't just fighting opponents, he was fighting for respect, for recognition, for his rightful place in the sport. And that's why the end of his story hurts so much. He beat everything but the system, and even then, the system never gave him what he truly earned. Marvin Hagler didn't just talk tough, he lived it. "I'll fight anybody, anywhere, anytime," he'd say, and he meant it. This fearless attitude led to countless battles in small venues against dangerous opponents. While his fists won over fans, boxing politics kept trying to shut him out. That's what made his journey so tragic. He had to fight the system just as hard as the men in front of him. The world really began to notice on November 30th, 1979, when Marvin fought Vito Antuofermo for the WBA and WBC middleweight titles. Most fans and analysts thought Hagler had clearly won, but the judges called it a draw. It was a crushing decision. He walked away without the belt he earned. That moment captured the cruelty of boxing. Even when he gave everything, it didn't always give back. Instead of bitterness, Marvin used setbacks as fuel. Knowing respect wouldn't be given, he took it by force. Less than a year later, he crushed Alan Minter in 3 rounds in London to become the undisputed middleweight champion, announcing he was done being overlooked. But even this triumph feels bittersweet, because Marvin never truly found peace. Once champion, he became a dominant force, defending his title 12 times with brutal skill and relentless drive. His bald head, southpaw stance, and fierce determination made him unforgettable. Yet, deep down, he still felt underappreciated. Every snub and slight fueled his fire. So deeply did he crave recognition that in 1982, after being introduced without his nickname, he legally changed his name to Marvelous Marvin Hagler, demanding to be seen. Promoter Bob Arum called him one of the greatest fighters and people he'd known. Fans feared him, and every fight added to his legend. During the 1980s, Four Kings era, Hagler, Leonard, Hearns, and Duran, Marvin was the hard-working underdog who fought harder and harder for respect. While the others gained fame and riches, Marvin dominated but stayed in the shadows. That injustice burned inside him. Outside the ring, he was gracious. Inside, a destructive force, each punch carrying years of disrespect. The Four Kings era gave boxing some of its greatest fights, with Marvin's battles proving he belonged at the top, despite the world doubting him. On April 15th, 1985, at Caesar's Palace, Marvin faced Thomas "Hitman" Hearns in a brutal fight known as the War. After a tense build-up, both fighters charged fiercely. Hearns opened a deep cut above Marvin's eye, threatening to stop the fight on a technicality, Marvin's worst fear. But Marvin pushed through the blood, unleashed a furious third round, and knocked Hearns out, proving his greatness. Promoter Bob Arum called it one of the greatest fights ever. Before that, on November 10, 1983, Marvin battled Roberto Duran in a grueling 15-round war of skill and endurance. Duran's defense frustrated Marvin, but Marvin's superior conditioning and patience won the fight by unanimous decision. This showed Marvin was not just a powerful puncher, but a complete fighter. Analyst Al Bernstein said surviving vulnerability was the true mark of Hagler. Yet, like many of his best performances, this fight was often overlooked, adding to the tragedy that Marvin never received full credit, even at his peak. Hurt deeply, Marvin famously told promoter Bob Arum to tell Ray to get a life when a rematch was suggested. At just 32, Marvin retired, feeling betrayed by a system he could never beat. After retiring, Marvin moved to Italy, where he found peace, learned the language, and pursued acting in films like Indio and Virtual Weapon. Reflecting on his career, he said he felt fortunate to leave the sport with his health intact. Earlier, against Roberto Duran, Marvin's superior conditioning showed as he grew stronger while Duran slowed. Marvin took control late, winning by unanimous decision, proving he was a complete fighter who could adapt and endure. Analyst Al Bernstein said, "He was vulnerable multiple times but pushed through." That's the true measure of Hagler. Yet, despite such performances, Marvin's brilliance was often overshadowed by a media world that favored flash over grit. Even at his peak, full credit eluded him, and that became part of his tragic story. Then came the most controversial moment of his career. On April 6, 1987, Sugar Ray Leonard, the golden boy of boxing, returned from retirement to challenge Marvin's titles. Leonard was charming and adored. Marvin, the blue-collar warrior who fought tooth and nail for respect. This fight was more than a battle. It was a clash of worlds, and for Marvin, the beginning of the end. Leonard used speed and movement, darting in and out with quick combos. Marvin stalked him, trying to land heavy shots. For 12 rounds, Marvin controlled the ring, landed harder punches, and set the pace. Most thought Marvin had done enough. Even Leonard seemed unsure. Then came the split decision. For Leonard, the crowd erupted in disbelief. Commentators called it robbery. Marvin, the fearless fighter who took on everyone, lost not in the ring, but on the scorecards. Promoter Bob Arum recalled Marvin's icy response to a rematch request. "Tell Ray to get a life." The pain ran deep. On March 13, 2021, boxing lost a legend. Marvelous Marvin Hagler passed away suddenly at 66, shocking fans around the world. The warrior who battled the greats for over a decade was gone without warning. His wife confirmed it was a heart attack. Just like that, a life of grit, glory, and respect came to an end. Tributes poured in from legends like Leonard, Hearns, and Duran. Joe Rogan's emotional reaction said it all. Hagler wasn't just a fighter, he was the soul of the sport. After retiring on his own terms and finding peace in Italy, Marvin was finally content. And then he was gone. From Newark to Las Vegas, Hagler proved what it means to fight with heart. Which of his fights left the biggest impact on you? Let us know in the comments. Please subscribe to our channel for more videos, and don't forget to press the bell icon.